We cover the latest topics and trends making waves across the sport and chat with our industry's most prominent leaders, so your golf business stays one step ahead. Welcome to Golf Business Live, powered by Club Caddy. Here's NGCOA CEO Jay Karen and owner of Augusta Ranch Golf Club and Vice President of the PGA of America, Don Rea.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the June 2023 edition of Golf Business Live, coming to you from the NGCOA headquarters in Charleston, South Carolina. With me is Don Rea, owner of Augusta Ranch, Vice President of the PGA of America, the ham to my egg. Don, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing awesome. It's good to be home. We had a tough, about 60 days of travel and had some personal travel with my daughter's surgery. And then, a lot of stuff's happened in from the time we had our last show. Do you
We're going to cover a few
just
things.
A little bit?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I want to thank our sponsor, Club Caddy, for sponsoring our show. I got to say, the light behind me will not come on today. But you know what? Maybe the literal light doesn't come on, but figuratively, Club Caddy's light shines bright with us. Jason Pearsall, you guys, thank you for continuing your sponsorship. Sorry, the light is not on, but you just got more attention than every other episode, because the light didn't go on. But thank you for all that you do at Club Caddy. Yes, there has been a lot going on, and we'll get to a few of those things. I think last time I saw you in person was in Rochester, New York, at the PGA Championship. So talk to me about, two things. One, what's happening at home at Augusta Ranch, and I want to hear your take on the PGA Championship.
Yeah, a lot of topics today. I mean, I don't know, if we had a guest, I don't know if they'd get a word in edgewise because, I'm sure I have a lot to comment on of what I experienced in the month of May in all the different events. And I'd like to cover each one, to be honest with you, Jay, at some point. But and then obviously what happened 3 weeks ago. It is what it is. And hey, this is what we're all about, right? The reason we started this during COVID is that we were going to be honest, we were going to be open and say what we had and not make stuff up. And we'll certainly do that today. And that's what's cool about what we've been doing for, I don't know, 3-4 years.
Yeah, and this is the first show of our 4th year.
There it is. Look, Augusta Ranch, hot, 110 out here in Mesa. We just hired our top Tracer Bay manager. Unfortunately, it's not a PJ member. I really, really wanted a PJ member to do the job. And it just right now, we've got some work to do, I think, on the PGA of training up somebody who can run a top tracer. Because remember, top tracer is not an enhanced range experience. I guess if you want to do that, knock yourself out. But that's like using your iPhone just to call people. Top tracer is about growing the game. And we've taken our time to find the right person. We wanted a hospitality background. We wanted a corporate hospitality background. We wanted somebody who understood giving lessons and at least making sure the PGA professionals that are giving lessons out there, because there will be a bunch. The new Top Tracer technology on the Top Tracer Coach app is amazing. And so, getting out in front of, for this next peak season, our leagues and our competitions, our food and beverage operation. What were we going to name our little food and beverage operations that's out there? Because I wanted to have a cool name, which I'm not going to tell you what it is because we're having our logo developed right now. But it's going to be a really cool little food and beverage venue out there to tie in the Top Tracer traffic. Because once again, Top Tracer, it's everything that a Top Golf is at a golf facility. And so I'm excited for what Eric's going to do out there. I've been on the road so much, Jay. I just finally met him like 2 days ago when I landed, and I am pumped for this young man who is fired up, right? And he's all about making sure that people have a good time, and so I'm excited. But we're still hovering. I think I told people 350,000 range balls in the last 30 days. It's gone down a little bit. We're at about 280,000 range balls. We just passed, since November 11th, when we opened on Veterans Day, 2 million range balls have been hit at Augusta Ranch since our opening. We passed the 2 million ball mark. So our outside service guys want to raise because they said they picked every single one of those balls, and they're probably right. But we're excited. It's good. And rounds of golf, once again, I think our rounds were down a little bit, but rates where it's at, because we've always been about, dynamic pricing and using the tools that are out there. We use Sagacity, but there's several other companies that do it. But that we just had the best trimester. I look at trimester businesses here, Jay, because in Arizona, or like looking at businesses in Arizona, golf businesses in the trimester, because January through April, big deal. This is when we make our money. The 4 months in the middle, terrible, going to lose money. And then the final 4, hey, can we hold on, maybe make a little? January through April, best first trimester in the history of the golf course.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Is that measured on NOI or top line?
I talk about profit, my friend, because
NOI,
all that really matters. NOI, EBITDA, call it what you want. What is your take home?
Yes.
Because everything else is a scam. You know, you tell an employee, hey, you're getting paid this much. They don't, what are they cashing their check for? And that's this is the most profitable. And so we're investing in a lot of things in it. And then it certainly paid off that we invested, $500,000 into Top Tracer.
Wow. I
believe we'll get that money back in less than 2 years.
Fantastic, man. That's awesome. That's great to hear. Seriously, it's about revenue, right? I mean, I hark back to the phrase that Ray Finch used to tell me at the board meeting 25 years ago. Ray and his family developed Wild Dunes. He said, Jay, when I take my deposit to the bank, which people don't do much anymore, when I take it to the bank, there's no slip on the deposit. There's no line on the deposit slip that says how many rounds were played. It's about revenue. You're totally right. And that was a big, important lesson to learn when I was about 24. Okay, well, let's pivot a little bit to the PGA Championship and spending some time with you there at Oak Hill. We spent a couple hours together. It was great. These championships and the majors are always great for industry folks to get together, conduct business. Our schedules sync, 2 or 3 times a year, which is always great. So, talk to me about, the PGA and the championship, how it went. It was certainly a storybook ending for Brooks Koepka.
It was awesome. But, I think the biggest story obviously was Michael Block. And if you don't mind, I do want to back up just a little bit. That first week of May is the PGA Works Collegiate Championship. This is the national championship for all the HBCUs and minority serving institutions. And we have taken that and run with it. And now when we go to communities, whether it was Philly last year or Shoal Creek this year, they are so behind it. I mean, it is amazing. I mean, Birmingham or Montgomery, all of a sudden it was Birmingham. Because I was in Montgomery before, because I was at the Alabama Northwest Florida section meeting. But Birmingham, Alabama, their Chamber of Commerce, their city council, completely behind it. Did you know Topgolf donated the entire facility, food and beverage and everything, on a Saturday night of graduation weekend to support PGA Works, support those young players that were out there and diversifying the game, and ultimately PGA Works is diversifying the workforce of the game. So what an amazing thing. I went from there straight to DC for National Golf Day. Amazing. The most PGA professionals that ever been to National Golf Day. Still not a lot, but the most ever. And then, we went to I had the PPC, the PGA Professional Championship in Albuquerque, where, it was really cool to see our young professionals trying to get into the team of 20, the Corebridge Financial team of 20 to the PGA Championship, which brings you to there. I've known Michael Block a long time. He played on the PGA Cup last year when we defeated PGA GB&I over in England. And so it was really cool to see him. To have the honor to announce on Sunday, I do the last 5 groups as vice president. And when Michael Block came up, he's like, did you set this up? I said, no, man, I just do the last 5 groups. And you made it. and I followed him. I left him right after his hole-in-one. I was going to go back to the clubhouse. And I was like, you know what? I want to watch him on the par 3. There's a big crowd out there. Kerry Haig did a great job with the stands and everything on that par 3. And so after that, I'll go back to the clubhouse. I'll put my suit on for the trophy presentation on the 18th green. And so I was there when he made the hole-in-one, and unbelievable. And I'll finish up with this. And I do, there's all kinds of questions I know you want to ask, but I was telling some young first tee kids here at Augusta Ranch the other day about Michael Block and what he accomplished, because he has a day job. He's not like those tour guys. My man has a day job of running a Royal Trabuco golf course. And so he has the time to put it on his game. He got that sponsor's exemption into the next event. And he did over 40 interviews on that Tuesday, Wednesday before the first round out. There's my man right there, dude. That's a golf professional. That's a PGA golf professional right there. And you know what? And yeah, he didn't play well that Thursday. He played okay on Friday. but he was like, hey, on Thursday night, he goes, I might shoot 59 tomorrow. I don't know. I've done it before. But I really admire him because every interview he did, he talked about the PGA Golf Professional and how proud he was to be one of the 29,000 men and women. So that's cool.
That is great. Maybe we should have an owners championship and see if any have one spot in the PGA Championship for a golf course owner, Don. And let's have our own little competition to get into that one spot so we can talk about golf course ownership in the bright light. What do you think?
We do need to get something going. Hey, but you've got your own majors, right? I mean, the MCO retreat is amazing.
Yep.
PGA of America doesn't do that. I mean, hey, Vice President, love the PGA of America. But who does the NGCOA MCO retreat? NGCOA, baby. Your RevCon that's coming up. Going to talk about water on the day after that. Those are amazing shows. Those are the majors of the NGCOA.
Thank you.
If you're an NGCOA member, you should go to the majors. Yeah.
Thank you.
You got to hit them all.
Yeah.
If you're gonna win the majors and win the Grand Slam of the NGCOA, you're going to go to the Golf Business Conference in January. You're going to go to the MCO retreat. You're going to go to RevCon, and then whatever. I know you always have a fourth one in there too. You've done a good job of really making that event basically on what the needs of the industry is at the time. Could be National Golf Day. There it is. That's the 4 majors of a golf course owner. You go in January to the Golf Business Conference. You go to National Golf Day. You go to the MCO retreat, and you go to RevCon.
Love it, man. You are a good pitch man, and we didn't even script this. Look at you. All right, it's a great segue. Great segue to a few house items, actually. So I'm going to correct you. It's not RevCon this year. It's TechCon. It is technology this year.
Oh, it is. Okay, yeah, you're right.
So October 10th and 11th in Las Vegas at the Vidara Resort. We'll have our technology conference, which we have not had since 2018. It'll have been 5 years since our last TechCon. And a lot has changed in those 5 years. So we're excited to have some discussions. We're going to have some real wonderful speakers. We're going to talk about artificial intelligence and what the impact could be on the operations of a golf course. This feels like it was, with the AI stuff, it feels like it's 1994, 95 again about what is this internet thing going to be, right? It just feels like it's going to be that big in our society in the coming years. And so we're going to have some advanced conversation. Actually, we're not even advanced conversations. We're already behind the 8 ball. This stuff is out there. It exists, and we have to talk about it at TechCon. So we're going to do that. A few other things, housekeeping items here. We have a compensation and benefits study out in the field right now. We have several hundred golf course owners and operators who have already contributed. We need more data. So make sure you go to ngcoa.org/compensation, all of you golf course owners and operators out there, and participate. And give your comp data on your employees and some benefit information. And we produce a fantastic, robust report across a few dozen positions at the golf course. So we're partnering with the National Golf Foundation to produce this. So excited to be working with them on our first research project in a long time. We also have our annual Golf Business Pulse report coming out later this year. And the survey is coming soon as well. This is where we're asking owners and operators, what's on your mind? What's keeping you up at night? What has changed in the last year? What is your sentiment towards all of these different things? And we can measure that sentiment change over time. And that really becomes the basis for a lot of education when we see that there are gaps in understanding, or we think that the owner operator attention on something isn't as strong as it needs to be, because we're looking around the corner where the owners and operators are head down in their business. We're looking around the corner and we see something coming. We need to be able to close that gap with education and advocacy and resources and so forth. So these things are on our plate right now. So I will say on a personal note, I had just a little bit of a change up. I was in California for 9 days recently. I know you were on the road for 6 days, but I took a 9-day road trip with my 14-year-old Jonah. And we started out in the Redwood Forest of California. And we went and visited Gaylord Schaap. There's Gaylord and myself. He's one of our board members. He has Northwood Golf Club. It is a 9-hole Alistair McKenzie design in the Redwood Forest, about an hour and a half north of San Francisco. And it is a gem. And if you haven't seen the video that Eric Anders Lang, a short clip, a short movie about Northwood, it's actually, it shows a lot on United Airlines, maybe Delta. It's got well over 1 million views, and it's just this wonderful romantic story about this awesome little 9-hole course. So that's where we started our journey, and we rented an electric vehicle. And by the way, I learned a new term, Don, when I was on a 9-day road trip with an electric vehicle. It's called range anxiety. Have you heard this term before? It's range anxiety. No. Now, if you're driving, and we had a Tesla Model 3, if you're driving a Tesla in Mesa for 3 or 4 or 5 days, you probably don't even need to charge up at all, right? But if you're going from the Redwoods down, through California, all of a sudden you're thinking, oh my gosh, where am I going to charge? How long is it going to take? How far off the beaten path do I have to go? Even though their chargers are pretty ubiquitous in California, not all of them fit every model all the time. And the planning, if you don't do proper planning, this range anxiety is a true condition, because, you know, you don't think about running out of gas. You know that you can pop in, fill up in 5 minutes and be gone, right? Very interesting experience. So I learned a lot. And now I started thinking about the American infrastructure, how every auto manufacturer saying they're going all electric by X year. Do we have the infrastructure so people can pop in, get charged up and go fast? It's like, no. So the production is going to be ahead of the infrastructure and all of this. So I'm thinking about all that as my son is just riding around in a Tesla. But then we stopped down at, we went through San Francisco, stopped at Pebble Beach, saw my friend Dave Stivers and played Pebble. And there's Jonah. There we are on the 18th tee. Hey, Harry, can you roll a video of this associate member of the PGA of America teeing off?
There you go. That'll do. Nice shot, I'm going to hit my breakfast ball mark. Sounds good.
He has a walk-off homer. Yes. Yeah, anyway.
Let's talk about the breakfast ball comment. Who's hitting breakfast balls out there?
The guys I got paired up with, they had this guy and his two sons had this whole bet and breakfast ball BS. Not me. If you listen carefully, the next guy's saying he's about to use his breakfast ball on hole number 6.
All right. Checking a little balance question at the end of that swing, but
I'm all about truth.
You bombed it.
No, I'm all about the truth and facts and justice here, Don. That's what happened. And then we made our way down to all the way through the internal area of California. And then we stopped at Zaca Creek Golf Course, a 9-hole course in Buellton, California. My grandparents used to live right across the street from it. We had the best time just playing 9 holes. We would find 9-hole places on the way down the coast. It was awesome. We ended up at the U.S. Open. We were in Los Angeles for 4 days. You know, as I mentioned at the majors, we have our industry meetings. I got to bring Jonah there we are on hole number 1, I think. Or maybe that's 18. It's 18 on LACC.
18.
And then and there we are with Jeff Morgan with the Club Management Association, the CEO, my good friend Jeff. And it was great. It was just great to share with my kid, you know, the other side of golf, you know, and what association management is. There we are with Mike Wan and Eric Kuster, my good buddy, who's the head of sales at Pinehurst Resort, where the U.S. Open will be next year. So thought I'd share that a little bit. That, you know, golf is amazing. It's like it's the conduit to so many things that Joan and I can build a road trip around stopping at 9-hole places. Oh, by the way, we did 15 and a half hours at Disneyland on one day. That was a marathon. But and I say like, why the goodness of golf, because our good friend JJ Keegan sent me an email today with a link to some Good Morning Football show about this. One of the anchors on that show was just lamenting about how terrible golf is because her husband goes away for half a day, and I guess her husband's an NFL player, and just lamenting how terrible this situation is. I'm like, you know, she has not discovered the goodness of golf. She has not discovered shot euphoria, what it feels like. All of a sudden you get that shot euphoria, as my good friend Joe Bettis likes to say. Then you find every excuse in the book to go out there and be out there playing the game with other people, right? And it's awesome. And I do have Jonah now in lessons with a PGA professional, and he has, within one lesson, he went from just hacking it to getting shot euphoria, and he can't wait to get out there multiple times a week. So I'm telling you, it's a real thing. So we got to keep preaching this to the unconverted that are out there. So anyway, I digress, but I had to share some of those goodness of golf things. So I want to talk about a few industry issues now, dive in a couple of things. You mentioned National Golf Day, which we had a month and a half ago in Washington. And I've been doing this for a number of years. I in my estimation, it was the most productive and best National Golf Day we have had maybe since the beginning of this. And for a couple of reasons. One, we finally have a ball on the field with House Resolution 3124. We've been talking about the sin list for years, and this is what created We Are Golf and later the American Golf Industry Coalition, was to try to figure out a way to get golf carved out of the tax code, which that tax code essentially renders the golf industry ineligible for disaster relief or economic stimulus measures that a lot of other industries, or just about every other industry, gets to participate in. We finally have, because of House members Panetta and Tenney in New York. Panetta is a Democrat from California. Tenney is a Republican from New York. We have a piece of legislation now introduced through the Ways and Means Committee to get golf off of this tax code. Big day. We saw many members of Congress come out and support golf in a big way during this week. And we got the community service project done, which is continue to beautify the national lawn, the National Mall, in less than half the time we normally do. It was great to see hundreds of folks out there planting plants on the National Mall, fixing the turf and so forth. Thank you to the Superintendents Association and all the others that really, there we are right at the kickoff speech right before we were deployed out to the mall to do our beautification work. It's one of my favorite days of the entire year of this industry. Really, Steve Grable and Allison, Catherine Jemsick. Yep, there we are. Yeah, I think that was a post sweat. We were sweating pretty good that day. It was good. So, but when we look at the business at hand because of National Golf Day, besides the tax code, which we're making amazing progress on, we're seeing right now the H-2B visa, the returning worker exemption. We see movement in Congress right now to allow for the returning workers to be exempted from the cap, which is big, big news. We've been after this forever. And one of the things we have to talk about here with this, non-immigrant labor essentially is that we need it, first of all. And that, honestly, we do need it as an industry. We have a labor shortage in our industry. And we need to have this. And this is great. And I'm glad that this has really turned into a labor conversation and not as much of a homeland security conversation. Although we need to be secure for sure, but it's a labor issue. And these things get tied up in homeland security. So great to see some breakthrough there. We're also making progress on this bill that would allow Americans to use their 529 college savings account money on certifications instead of just college. Future PGA professionals, future golf course superintendents, irrigation specialists that want that certification. Golf industry will benefit greatly from this. So a lot of great momentum coming out of our efforts in Washington, D.C. And it was great to see you there as well as all the other PGA professionals. So what are your thoughts on National Golf Day and the work that we've been doing?
Well, one, there's nothing more American than going down to the Capitol and talking. And legislators want to talk to you. They want to talk to constituents. They want to talk to real people. They talk to, lobbyists all the time. And that's just how I've been selling to the PGA of America member is just go. Whether, there's some coordinated effort of the PGA or not. And there is, and there will be, and there will continue to be. Because I'm excited about it. It's what I want to do when I'm president, and certainly until I'm president. But it's cool, right? You feel good about it when you talk. When I see Nancy Mace, she's talking about the golf caucus, it gets me fired up because all of a sudden they're starting to figure out that the golf's really cool. Like we knew and back to golf that we invented social distancing. We are all about mental health and physical health and family health. We're all about, 10,000 steps and 2,000 calories. That's what we do as a game, and our legislators don't know that, and I'll go into a comment I'll make later, but I think you're right. The sin list, isn't it amazing that the reason we're on there, and then they base future legislation on this darn list. So it's bad. Is because they just don't know. They don't know what we do for people, that we're small business owners. And, I'll speak to a couple of things that you said too. That H-2B visa thing, I've had some, small business owners, because that's what we are, right? As golf course owners. That it really doesn't impact me. I'm never applying for those. Yes. But when those big companies apply for them and get them, then they get some of the labor they need, and they stop pulling from the talent pool that I have access to. If they don't get the visas, then they could tap into my pool, and I can't afford to I can't outpay them. The big management companies or the big hotel companies, whoever it is, right, in the hospitality industry, because, hey, we're in it. This is the pool we swim in. Yeah. If we don't have those visas, it will affect you as a small business owner, because they're going to dip into our pool, and we don't want that. And so, whether it's the certification thing, which I think is good, I just love everything that the golf caucus. I couldn't be more excited. Nancy Mace is a champion, dude. That woman, I wish I might move there just so I can vote for her. Because she's no joke. But I will say, Kirsten Sinema, she's coming on strong, Kirsten, with the water situation. She's been great. But see those pictures right there? It's just cool, when you get to meet the actual legislator. Yeah, I see. Representative, she's a senator? No, she's I'll just tell congressperson. I just say congresswoman, then I'm covered, right? But no, I agree. You got to go. You got to go. And if you don't go, you don't know. And it'll change your life, because you'll feel American.
Yeah. Well, let me transition to one issue that our Director of Advocacy, Ronnie Miles, alerted the industry to this past week, is that OSHA, the acronym OSHA usually draws shivers, for some business people, but OSHA, the Small Business Administration, and DOL are working together on this issue about helping workers prevent heat stroke and heat emergencies and so forth. So there's going to be some OSHA rulings that are coming out about protecting your employees against heat stroke and heat related illnesses. And there's a call. Make sure you read your emails, NGCOA members, because Ronnie put out a call because they're looking to have panels and participants from various industries talk about what this could mean. And this is our moment when they contact us and say, hey, golf industry, we welcome you to give your input. This is the comment period. This is where we want your input on the practicality of running a golf course and what can and can't be done and so forth to protect employees from having heat-related injuries. So be sure you respond to that if you're interested in speaking up about that. I would imagine it's an issue in the deserts of Arizona. What kinds of things, are golf course owners and operators doing to, help their staff prevent kind of illnesses out there in the space?
Yeah, right. It's got to be more than a straw hat. That's for sure. And I think it is, obviously it's going to get to 115, I think, this week. I mean, it's hot, baby. We're getting there. And I think this is fine. But to your point, we don't want them to over legislate anything. The unintended consequences of legislation is what golf always has to look out for, because they just don't think about us. And we've got to get them thinking about us. I mean, and they only know what they know. And what's, I think, interesting too. My daughter goes to Bowdoin, and a bunch of her friends. I'm sure the next topic we're going to get. You're not going to let me get away without talking about Liv and Piff. I am sure.
But I will tell you,
one of the right, yeah, one thing Katie said. She said, Dad, a lot of my friends are doing internships in DC, and they're working for legislators, and those legislators lean on their staffs tremendously. So you might think we gotta educate the legislators. We do, but we also have to legislate, or we have to educate those assistants, those interns that are in those offices, and all of that data that they end up looking at as a congressperson, because they're super busy, basically is always kind of censored, filtered, created by those interns, and they're going to listen to who they listen to. And so if they're just going to Google what golf's doing for, whether it's drought, water issue, or it's, somebody overworking in extreme heat, they're going to read what they read. And so we have to make certain that we create what they read, or else we'll get beat up.
Yeah. Great point. I remember about 20 years ago, maybe less than that now, in the state of Indiana, there was a state legislator whose husband died on the golf course, heart attack, right? And, sad story. And it happens, in places like golf courses and airports and what have you. And she proposed a piece of legislation that would mandate every golf course in Indiana have, what do they call them? The AEDs for, restarting the heart, right? That every golf course in Indiana would have to have one stationed at various places throughout the golf course. You're thinking a 200-acre piece of property or whatever, and stationing AEDs, make sure that their power is out there to make sure that they're charged and all of these things. To your point, with limited information but good intentions, you can over legislate, and that was defeated eventually. So forth, because the golf industry in Indiana came out and said, "Well, hang on a second, we believe in what you're doing. In fact, we support AEDs. A lot of golf courses have them, but to mandate them, and then it's like, okay, when you mandate them, what happens then? If it doesn't get used properly, are they protected under the Good Samaritan laws and all? It was just like this cascading effect of what ifs and what could happen by mandating this. So bringing it back to the OSHA thing, same thing, good intentions. We got to protect employees, and employers need to do the right thing so that employees aren't suffering heat strokes. Very legitimate conversation, but without our involvement and our participation in this conversation, they could legislate things that just don't make sense, even though they're good intentions, right? So we are at the table. We are inviting the industry to participate. So make sure you reach out to our staff if you want to be part of that conversation. Okay, so now we're going to talk about something you alluded to earlier about, some announcement 3 weeks ago, which I want to get to, but I'm going to set the table for you a little bit, because we're going to talk about the PGA Tour and what's happening there. 6.5 years ago or so, I gave what was called an Ignite presentation at the NGF Golf Business Symposium. And these were where industry folks got to give 5-minute speeches within 5 minutes. And it was like something like, or maybe 3 minutes and 15 slides. It's like a formulaic thing, kind of give your best pitch on what is happening, what you want to share. I don't remember the total thesis of my presentation, but I do remember at that point coining the phrase golf Hollywood. All right, because what I did is like, let's look at the golf universe. And here's, we have two planets in the golf universe. We have what I didn't call it Planet Hollywood. I call it Golf Hollywood, but it was one planet. And it was, the PGA Tour, the championships, the media, the celebrities, the prize money, all of the stuff that's out there that the consumers love to consume and pay for. And the spotlight, I called it Golf Hollywood. And the rest of the industry, what you do, Don, and what I get to do is represent, the golf courses that open their doors every morning and welcome golfers and try to run this industry. And at the time, it was like an $82 billion industry. And I had this image of where the world thinks that Planet Hollywood or Golf Hollywood is the big planet in the universe. But I did this perspective change and showed that it's actually the small planet. And that the big planet, probably 80 of the 82 billion or 70 something of the 82 billion at the time was golf courses, everything centered around the golf courses in America. But I also said we need each other, that each planet has this gravitational pull or it's a source of energy for each other, right? Because the enthusiasm for the game is tied to the rock stars out there, the LPGA stars, the PGA Tour stars that, when you're a kid, you want to aspire to. The Tiger Woods effect, all of these things is fuel for interest in the game, and that fuel translates to playing the game. When you play the game, you pay green fees, you pay for carts, you do all, and that's what sustains your business. So it's symbiotic, right? It's symbiotic for sure, and that's a good thing. We need each other. So, Golf Hollywood right now, the planet has had some planet quakes. I can't call it earthquakes; it's not Earth. So some quakes on that planet over the last 2 years, right? And it's easy to say, well, that's just Golf Hollywood. That's their own thing. I guess my first question is, as golf course owners and operators, why should we possibly care about this? Well, what impact could it possibly have on the business that you run and open up every day? So let's start there, and to maybe set the table on for our audience who's not in the know. In a 20-second summary, what did happen 3 weeks ago?
Right. Yeah. Well, I'll take off my vice president hat, although I don't know if I ever can, but, certainly I'm always wearing my golf course owner hat too. And to your point, to steal your metaphor, it's, the tides are changing because of the moon, and those tides could be bad or they could be small, even though the moon's much smaller than our planet. And so I think it is interesting. We have to be careful because it is symbiotic. It is a mutualistic relationship, right? This is an ecosystem of golf, and we all have to get along. I think how it affects us is just storylines. Isn't it a bummer, that Michael Block is an amazing story of the PGA Championship, and he does a great job. And Brooks Koepka did a great job winning too, right? And all of a sudden, I'm going to tell you right now, there were people going, oh, did you see the look on Seth's face when he was standing next to Brooks? He obviously wasn't happy that Brooks won. Dude, I was standing there. Look at the pictures. They were laughing. We were all laughing about jokes. We didn't keep anybody from live out of there. We just wanted them to play. And that's what we do, right? I mean, we're just the 29K, dude. We're trying to grow the game. And I think when it comes to, golf in general, isn't it a shame that, club professional is talking about being a club professional and growing the game, and that there are, everybody wants to talk about men and women playing golf for millions when there are millions of men and women playing golf, and they've kind of stole our storyline, right? I mean, all of a sudden we're not talking about how good golf is doing. It's like we raise more money for charity than all the other sports combined. That's a fact.
At the golf course, through the golf courses. Yep.
Through gift certificates that golf course owners do, right? How about the high school teams I let play for free? All donations. I don't even take a tax deduction on that one. I don't take a tax deduction on all the gift certificates that I hand out to the local, the philanthropies that are just trying to do silent auction items to help a little girl with cancer, right? To raise money for a veteran who's defended our country. And this is what golf does all the time. So, yeah, I mean, as a golf course owner, I'm bummed that the narrative for golf was so good. Even what we did in the PGA with PGA Works and the PGA Championship and Michael Block, and all of a sudden we're talking about money again. Dude, no, I don't want to talk about money. I want to talk about impacting lives. I want to talk about veterans whose lives have been saved because it got them out of the house. Yeah. And so as a golfer, as someone who loves the game, I'm bummed that that's the storyline when the storyline should be the goodness of the game, which you kind of alluded to, and not the money of the game. If money's our why, then we're jacked. And nobody's a PGA professional. You did not become a PGA professional or on the process of being one because you love money. No golf course owner becomes a golf course owner because they love money, because you wouldn't get into it because of that, because you ain't going to be a multimillionaire doing it. But if you love people, if you love hospitality, you love changing lives, you love relationships, you'll be a golf course owner and you'll be a PGA golf professional, because that's what we do. We love the game of golf more than anybody, or we wouldn't put ourselves through all these trials and tribulations of being a golf course owner to do it, because we love golf. So yeah, that's what I think on that one. And, as far as the live stuff too, I mean, whatever. Who's back there? Put up the PGA logo for me. Let's see the PGA logo. See, there's my problem. There's my freaking problem right there, Karen. I got the now. I set that up on purpose, so Taylor's done a good job back there. But that's what's happened, right? This is the bummer for the PGA of America, is that everybody keeps saying PGA. Well, which one are you talking about? PGA Tour, the PGA of America. We are the PGA of America. Hey, there you go. God bless you. Right there. That's the grace of golf right there. We that's all we do is care about is pushing tees in the ground, teaching your son how to get shot euphoria. I mean, that's what we deliver, right? We are the doctors of the industry to make sure everybody gets a little better mentally. And we know golf is the inoculation that'll do it, right? It's the immunization that'll do it. And so that's what bums me out is, whether it's Lester Holt on NBC News showing the PGA logo when they're talking about the tour. I'm exhausted by it. And I'm sure our members of the PGA of America are exhausted by it. And we're working on that. We're putting together plans right now. And hey, we're not against anybody. We're for the 29,000. That's my job, Jay. It was my job to defend the golf course owners when I was on your board. And it's certainly my job as an officer of the PGA to make sure that the 29K, everybody knows what they do every day. And that's what I'm going to spend the rest of my life making sure everybody understands. The PGA Tour is not the PGA of America.
Right.
They're going to do what they do. God bless you. I mean, we're just trying to run the Ryder Cup. We're trying to run the PGA Championship, the senior, the women's, PGA Hope, PGA Works. We're doing those things. So, now it's about purses, it's about money, it's about PIF, it's about Liv, it's about Yasser, it's about Jay, and it's about Jimmy. And oh man, you know what? I want to talk about Jay Karen as a PGA associate. How's your life? Is your life getting a little better? Why did you want to become a PGA member? And those are the issues of the day. So yeah, if there's any message I would give anybody right now, Jay, it's just, you're probably getting a lot of questions about this. And please, I've told Katie this, right? At Bowdoin, it's a liberal arts college. And Katie's like, Dad, I might be doing more for the PGA than anybody, because everybody's asking me, is your dad okay? And she's like, he's awesome, because the PGA of America is awesome. And that's the PGA Tour, so just remember who you're talking about. Is it the PGA Tour, the PGA of America? Because the PGA of America is we're the growers of the game. We're the farmers. And that's all we want to do.
Yeah, I hear you. And I mean, for me, I've honestly been on the sidelines because and throughout this whole thing that's been going down with the tour and so forth, because as I mentioned, we're on different planets and it's like, that's just a different planet. And I know Jay, Montana, and I have great respect for him. We do business together on things. And I can't even imagine, being faced with those kinds of issues, challenges, opportunities, the vortex of it all is got to be enormous, right? Obviously, we have a very different vortex here at NGCOA that we're trying to deal with, but a lot of armchair quarterbacks and all this stuff. And what is it maybe something I can comment on is I've been a CEO and a leader now for going on 14, 15 years, and just being a chief executive officer. It does not really. I mean, the size of this operation is nowhere near obviously the PGA Tour. But I got to say this to all the haters and all the critics and everybody out there is like, look, you got to walk a mile in someone else's shoes, right? Because at the end of it, you'll have, burn a few calories and you'll have their shoes. No, I'm just kidding. Little humor.
About as little as you can do with humor before it becomes disappointment.
I know, you know what, but I'm not going to be an armchair quarterback here, but I do sympathize with people in difficult situations. And whether people made the right call, wrong call, we can always, hindsight's going to be 20/20 and all of this stuff. And that's the deal. Nobody has 20/20 vision as you go into these conversations, these decisions, whatever it might be. Nobody has all the information. Nobody knows the complete effect of everything that's going to happen. it'll be hindsight that will be the teacher, right, of these things. But I sympathize for anybody who is, has the weight of the world on their shoulders with some of this stuff, and it's not easy. And so I think about these guys, and I hope that they make it through, and the best decisions are made for what I think is the most important acronym, GOLF, as Kathy Harbin likes to say. That's the most important acronym for all of this, is GOLF. And so it remains to be seen what happens.
Kathy, I love Kathy. She's the best, isn't she? I mean, I just saw her down at the KPMG, and she was announced, and she was on the green with us when we gave away the trophy, and she's the best. But isn't it? You know what I learned on the NGCOA board? And this is why you want to get on boards, you want to get on committees, because you get to see some high performing people at their best, and how and what they do. And like, say it's a Dana Garmany or a Hinckley or a Hill. When I was on the NGCOA board, what I noticed about these gentlemen, the smartest people in the room, they usually don't say much early. They are great listeners. And then when they speak, you want to listen, because they've taken it all in. And, and I think that explains, what the PGA of America is trying to do. We were surprised as much as anybody when all these things happen. And now we're sitting back and we're watching, we're seeing what's going on. And we'll make a determination and say when we're ready to say what we say. But right now we love the current ecosystem, but we love the ecosystem before all this happened. And that's our bummer, right? Is everybody wants to pull us into these conversations. And if it isn't talking about somebody getting better at golf or a PGA member having a better life, well, then I don't want to talk about it, dude. The other stuff figures itself out.
Well, how about this? Let's, one of the other things that we're going to probably talk about. By the way, if you have any comments or questions for us, those of you watching, by all means, send along a comment or a question, and we'll try to pick it up before we end the show, which will be probably pretty soon here. So next month in July, maybe we can talk a little bit about the USGA's model local rule possibility of 2 golf balls, if you will, right? I mean, and it's really what this is a model. It's a model local rule is what it's called, right? And
model local rule. Yep.
So, NGCOA hasn't weighed in on this and what have you, but I'm certainly having conversations about what the impact could be if there were bifurcation, is what we used to say, even though a model local rule is one that could or could not be adopted. It's not like a new rule that everybody has to adopt. But maybe we should talk about this next month in July, because I think the comment period is going to be over in August for the USGA taking the comments from the field. But I want to have a discussion. Maybe we'll have a couple of owners and operators on. Taylor, maybe put this in your notes. Maybe next month we have some owners and operators on, bringing them on the show, and let's talk shop about a lot of things and get their take on maybe some of the in particular, this USGA proposed rule, and what the cascading effect could be at the golf course. Because I started out talking about this PGA Tour, Live, and all that. What could be the effect at the golf course? At the end of the day, for me, not a lot of effect on the game and the play of golf, except for it's a bummer. Like you talk about, it's conversation for sure. And it's not a conversation it's not an uplifting conversation. It's a conversation about conflict. And that's never necessarily uplifting. Okay, but the potential change of the rule or the proposed rule could have an actual effect at the golf courses around America, the 15,000 golf courses. And I want to have a conversation with some folks about that. We don't have an official position on it, so let's just start having a conversation, see what kind of comes out of a robust, informative conversation. So what do you say? Do you think that would be a good idea for next month's show?
Yeah, absolutely. You know what I mean? It's there's a lot going on in my life. You know what I mean? It's because it's there's so many things. It's so funny. You get elected to be an officer of the PGA of America, and you have no idea what's going to happen. And I certainly had no idea what was going to happen this year and all the things that have happened. But we do have to talk about it. I'm excited. We're going to meet with all the PGAs globally at Royal Liverpool in a couple of weeks and talk about this. And I don't mind when the USGA kind of says, hey, this is what we're thinking. This is their job, right? Is to do what they think is right. And they have this open period for us to submit what our concerns are. They've asked the PGA, we gave them our concerns, and now we're asking our members, they have a website, they have an email address they created, distanceinsights@usga.org. Anybody, any American, any golfer can email this distanceinsights@usga.org and say whether you're in favor or not. They want feedback. Because however they roll it out, or if they do, or if they don't, or if they modify the rollout, They certainly are listening. I believe they're listening. I really do. I applaud Mike Juan and Martin Slumbers that they're listening. And so give them something to listen to. Don't be quiet.
No, good point. And I got to, and this whole Distance Insights project, I got to give them props because there are really two parts to this project, but all the attention goes to the problem with hitting the ball too far at the elite level, right? That's where all the focus again, kind of the Golf Hollywood thing again, Don, going back to that's where all the attention goes. But Mike Juan and Mike Davis before him, Dave Asnavorian at the USGA, Dave Pierce, they've been doing some fantastic work pulling the allied associations together for the past 3 or 4 years to talk about distance at the regular golf course. And how do we get distance right? Not about shortening courses or whatever, but about tee boxes and formulas to figure out what tee box should you play. And they've really boiled it down. I love this science. They boiled it down to the 7-iron. They've got a formula that says, how far do you hit your 7-iron? And if you hit it this far, because most golfers know, and it translates to probably the right ideal distance at that course to play. And so we're working together on leveraging this formula and this algorithm to get more golfers playing the right set of tees for maximum enjoyment. Very excited about this. And so that to me is the real distance question that we should be talking about in this industry. And so got to give them props for what they're doing here, because the why behind that is how do we keep more golfers playing throughout their entire life, and how, why, and enjoying it, because if you don't enjoy it, you're going to give it up. Right. And so to me, that's what this is about. And I love that they use the 7-iron because they're not using the driver, because some of the golf courses where, like, I think Longleaf Pines and others, where it's like you're hitting your driver, how far do you hit it? Maybe you should hit this set of tees. But what they study was that most golfers overestimate how far they actually hit their driver to a detrimental point. But the 7-iron, there it's just more. There's a smaller margin of error of how far they hit the 7-iron than what they think they hit their driver, and so it becomes a better tool, to use as the basis for this algorithm. Really cool stuff. And so there's some really great resources coming out for golf course owners and operators, how to get golfers playing the right set of tees for maximum enjoyment. Well, I guess that enjoyment and challenge intersection. You want both, right? But certainly, I think this is a worthy project we've been on for a few years.
Yeah, and it amazes me that they don't ask a PGA golf professional, dude. I mean, we had Will Robbins on our show. The modern PGA coach, the whole thing is get them out on the golf course so they understand how far they hit it, and then playing that hole. I mean, these are things that PGA members have known forever, that that your students that you're coaching up will enjoy it more if they don't have 3-iron at every green, because descent angle alone, they're never going to hold the green. And then they complain to the golf course owner that the greens aren't soft enough. It's because, bro, your descent angle's jacked and you're never going to hold the green with that. You should have a 7-iron in your hand. Well, I want to play the tips. The tip of what? The tip of frustration? I mean, dude, you're never going to enjoy the game hitting 3-irons into greens, because they're not made for those kind of clubs coming in. So, thank goodness for tungsten and that descent angles are improving. But at the end of the day, Will Robbins is talking about this forever. Lessons on the greens, knock yourself out, I guess. But at the end of the day, get on the golf course, play golf, and you'll find out that, it's not the driver that's causing you issues. It's your short game and playing the wrong tees that exposes parts of the game that nobody on tour. I mean, how many tour guys hit a 3-iron? And not very often, unless they're trying to hit a little stinger because they're going to play Royal Liverpool. I mean, other than that, just bring the PGA professional into the conversation, Jen.
Oh, they are
the experts.
No. Hey, whoa.
I will bring them in and listen to them. Listen to them, because we are the experts in recreational golf. That's who we are, dude.
All right. So the PGA of America is part of this conversation. When I say the Allied Associations, PGA of America is at the table with this now. But at the golf course, wait. At the golf course itself, we have cultural and structural and customer experience issues where no matter what we say at the table, where all, these, people like me are talking about what's going on, where the rubber hits the road is where it matters, obviously, right? PGAs represent their architects, superintendents, owners are at the table in this conversation with the USGA. But when there's time for deployment, it's about the PGA professional will have to be involved, because how do we integrate this into the experience? Because we're dealing with cultural things like ego. How do you get Mr. Jones to move up to the silver tees when he hits his 7-iron 132 yards? How do you actually do that? Because Mr. Jones might not be playing with his buddies on the white tees if he does that. These things are, what will be the blocks to progress. And it will obviously involve the PGA members and starters and, course staff as we go down this process. But the good news is that that important people who care about this industry are working on it, and that's a really good thing in my estimation. So stay tuned, Don Rea. Maybe we have the August show will be about distance insights and that side of the study.
You got me a little fired up there, you know what I mean? Because everybody wants to make posters of how to fix ball marks, what tees, but it ain't the posters, it's the pros. The pros are the ones. When I tell my student what tee box, I go, hey, what tee box you play? I play the black. Why? What are you, stupid? You're going to move up to the whites. Because you know why I can say that to him? Because I have a relationship with him. He's my student. He trusts me.
And you got some credit in the PGA logo. You got some credibility.
I got credibility. I got flex. I've got PGA flex. And I could talk to my private club member and go, dude, it's over. You're going to the whites. You're 65 years old. You're hitting 3 irons. You're pulling head covers all day long. If you pull more than 3 head covers around, you're playing for the wrong tee boxes. I promise you right now. You shouldn't have, dude, no head covers, 7 iron and in, and you'll love golf again.
I love it.
Well, that's a rhyme. We could use that. 7 iron and in, and you'll love golf again. If you're hitting more than a 7 iron, you're sad. You're frustrated. You're mad. You're bummed.
Well, we got a lot of things to fix and improve in this industry. And I'm glad you and I are
a lot of work. I'm glad I was keeping notes. I got a big honey-do list.
We all do. No matter what, it'll never be over. There's always room for improvement. So that's
the beauty of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, all right, Don, we are at the end of our show. It's great to see you and the folks at home that tuned in. And we will be back in sometime in July. We'll announce the date and the time soon. And look forward to a robust conversation about the model local rule and maybe some other fun stuff happening in our industry. So always good to see you. And those folks at home, we'll see you next month. So thanks for joining us, guys. Take care.